for the last 2 years I've been doing street photography with only fixed prime lenses, and in this video I want to talk to you about different type of focal lengths in prime lenses, not specifically fixed one like I have in the Leica Q3 or the Leica GL3X, but in general the different types of focal lengths and how I feel about each and every one of them, again in street photography, not in other types of photography. And I'm not going to refer to any specific kind of brand and different apertures and the overall quality of different lenses, just the overall feeling of different focal lengths. So this is the Leica Q3 with the 28mm focal length, and this is the Leica GL3X with 40mm one. And in between I tried many different type of lenses. I tried the Fuji with the 35mm and also a a prime lens of Canon with 35mm. And I have to say, first of all, my least favorite focal length on the street, again just my personal taste, but I will tell you why I think that, is the 35mm. I just couldn't connect with it at all, not with the Fuji, not with the Canon. I know it's one of the most popular type of lens out there, you know what I mean, and I can understand why, because it's so versatile and it fits to really portraits and street to capture the most of the scene, and it's just super versatile, and I can understand why people like it so much. And also it is I think Fuji most favorite fixed prime lens in all the Fuji X100V and 6. I think this is their favorite focal length. Correct me if I'm wrong, and also please write me in the comments what's your favorite focal length for street photography. I really want to read that. But anyway, so 35 is my least favorite one, maybe because okay, let me go through to what I like, and then maybe you'll understand why I dislike the 35 so much. So I think my most favorite focal length to capture most of the scenes is with the 28mm, and the reason for that is maybe you know, I tried to argue once that this is the most special focal length and unique view on the street. It captured the whole scene, and then people wrote me in the comments rightfully that in the phone, in our camera phone, iPhone, we have the 28mm focal length, so it's not that special. But I would argue that when you get a good photo, like in photography, a professional image, and not like documentary in the street and in our everyday life, when we get a good photo in 28mm, this one feels more unique to me than getting a good photo in, let's say, 35 or 50 or 100mm. Just my personal taste, but I feel like in street capturing the whole vibe without anything destructive, because what's going on with the 28 is that it's so easy to capture something that is interrupt the story that we want to tell, because the view is so wide, so it's really easy to capture something that we don't want to see there. And I think my most favorite photos that I like the most are the ones with just maybe one or two subjects, and then the background is very big but also very not destructible, you know what I mean, again, sorry. So I think that the 28mm vibe is just when you do it right, and when you have the patience to take all of the bad photos that you can't control, you know, people coming in and go from your frame, it's not something that you can really expect. Or if you find like a small section of maybe flowers or macro photography that you do with the 28, again, it has a macro mode here, so it's not usual to see really macro type of photography with such a wide lens, maybe. So maybe that's also something that I feel is unique when I take photos of flowers and stuff like that. So it's just my favorite focal length, but it's also the focal length that I take the most bad photos, if that makes sense, because I really have to try to get the right one that I really like. And if I compare it to, let's say, 40mm, okay, of my Leica GL3X. So 40mm is a focal length that I think is very, very easy and fun to use. This is maybe my most used camera. I take it with me almost every day, and if not, then I take the Leica. And I talked about this camera so much in this channel. I'm really in love with this little compact camera, and not only because the size of it, of everything that Ricoh brings, But the 40mm that is so different from the 28, and I don't know why, but it's also so different than the 35 that I tried of Fujifilm again. And I think that 40mm on the street allows me to capture photos, maybe more intimate photos of people, like portraits from a little bit far away, because when I do it with the Leica, then I would have to crop a lot to get to the people's face, or just get really close, which is something that I don't do. And I'm sorry that I'm jumping from here and there, but you'll get my point. I think that another reason that I love the 28 is because I use it in a 60 megapixel sensor. And this allows me to really just not compromise on the street on whatever I want to fix now. That means that I can point my camera to some interesting scene, capture a photo, and then maybe later decide that I want to crop it more and get, and don't yell at me in the comments again, like 50mm photo. And I know it's not the same as getting a 50mm lens optically and everything, I know, but I also know that with 60 megapixel I can crop really far away and get results that maybe I will get with 40mm on a sensor of 24 megapixel, if that makes sense. Again, I know it's not the same, but it allows me to do so. And in a 40mm, I can't get the 28mm. And it's another argument that I had here, not argument, sorry, but a video that I made here about the differences in the new Leica and the old Leica. That's another topic. So 28 is my favorite photo that I like to see. When I see a photo on Instagram or a photo that I take, I like to see a 28mm more in the street. But the 40 is the more go-to focal length that I use every day. Maybe because it's a compact camera, and if I had the 28mm version of the Ricoh, like the Ricoh Gel 4 and the 43mm of Leica, then I will feel differently, but that's just my experience with those. So I think that maybe if I was someone who's starting out in street photography, then I would go to much closer focal lengths of between 40, 50 and even 85 to 100. You know, before I got the Leica Q3, I had a Canon gear, a lot of different lenses, but my favorite lenses back in the day was 100mm macro lens, which is funny because here I use the 28mm also macro lens. And I feel like when I used the 100, it was so much more versatile than what I planned. And I really could take beautiful portraits of people for clients back when I did the portrait photography, or just get really nice street photography photos, like really from far away, without any distortion of the lens. I think this is something that happened when you use 50mm lens and above, like 50, 85, 100, then the distortion of the face and the people on the street and everything just fade away, and the whole scene looks like I see it in my eyes. And I just really like that lens. Also, it was very sharp, and I think that maybe if I would starting out, then I would go, as I said, to the more close-up focal lengths. And I don't know if you can relate to what I'm about to say, but hear me out, because maybe you will feel the same way. I feel like, you know, I try to be very aware of my weaknesses and my the things that I need to work on myself personally. And I feel like I'm one of those people who really try to grab everything in my life and try to do everything. And maybe I want to do like print my photos and print a photo book and do videos and take photos every day, and my job and everything. I just try to grab a lot in life. So I feel like you know, maybe it's one of my weaknesses, because I'm really having a hard time to do something like 100% right and invest all of my energy and time into one thing. It's just not, I'm not that type of person. I wish I was more like that. I'm trying to like finish what I start, and I feel like maybe taking a 28mm focal length, it's kind of like being one of like the same personality as I described. Because, you know, imagine going to a big forest with one camera, and you want to capture everything in that forest. You want to capture the leaves and the insects, just the whole vibe of the scene, and you're going in with a very wide lens. So in one hand you feel like you can capture everything because you take a photo and then everything just mix inside and you don't see anything specific, and then you can crop and see, you know, this and that and everything you try to capture. I hope I didn't lose you there. But my point is that I feel like taking a 28mm with a 60 megapixel again is something that is very safe for me, because I can decide later what I'm going to focus on, and if I want to change a little bit the scene, like crop something from the external, like from the frame, I can be really like reckless with taking photos on the street. And if I take a photo with a closer focal length, then I feel like I have to be much more intentional of this is what I'm going to shoot right now. And I know it's the difference between the sensor, also of course 60 megapixel and 25, it's not the same. But I feel like the general thought of taking closer focal length, you know, as close as you get, like if you take like behind me the 500mm to capture birds or something very, very far away, then you focus on that, and that's only what you're going to shoot today. And maybe taking a wider lens is a little bit more forgiving and let you a space to express yourself more freely. But again, maybe it's just a thought that I have. I don't know. Please let me know in the comments what do you think. What's your favorite focal length for street photography? That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon in the next video.